Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and she just took off her mom hat. She's officially put on her CEO hat. We have Amanda in the house. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we connected through Rachel, and of course, in true Austin fashion, we talked for like 2 hours. So excited about what you're bringing to the world. So excited about the different layers in your story and so many things. So, the most scary statement I can say, you start your story where you would like, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, of course. So what better place to start than the beginning? I was adopted from South America during a dictatorship in Asunción, Paraguay. And 2 weeks after I was born, the dictator was exiled to a different country, thus affecting my entire life. I was put into foster care, adopted to a family in the United States. And that is literally why I'm sitting here before you. That is why I know you. If that hadn't happened, my life would be so very different.
As you reflect on, here's what I don't think people like. It's a combination of we're extremely comfortable in America, and the fact that we've been told that we need to play small, like don't speak up, don't fail, all those kind of things. Like when you look back on that time and the steps that got you here, as you're saying, you're sitting here today, like, do you ever just break down and cry because you're just so grateful that like you had the opportunity?
Yeah, of course. I mean, one of those moments was actually Saturday. My adopted mom received an award, and my son, family's everything to me. And my son has had a really high fever since Friday night. And I didn't want to leave him, but this award for my mom is really important for me to go. She's done everything for me and been my cheerleader through finding my biological family, through, just all the ups and downs of my life. And I just needed to be there for her. So my husband stayed home with my son. I drove 2 hours to go see the awards. And then I drove 2 hours home right after just to be back with my kids. And, it was exhausting, but 100% worth it. And before I left, I recorded just a little video, and I just showed my gratitude, my appreciation for my mom, and how proud I was of her getting that award, and just how if it wasn't for her taking a mission trip to Mexico when she was, I think she was about 18 years old or so, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, I think it happens now that I'm a mom. I think those little, mini breakdowns happen a little bit more often, just because I take one look at my son. I can't imagine, not having them with me all the time. So I think the older I get, the more fleeting I feel life is, and all of the moments that have led up to now, I see how they're connected, and I see why things happen the way they did, because I wouldn't be doing anything I'm doing now if it wasn't for, the different milestones I hit or the people I met. Especially writing my book, I got to really take a look back and see all these good, bad, and ugly moments that happened in my life, and those that are kind of in my circle of influence, and how they've impacted me. And it's just been really overwhelming a little bit to kind of see things coming together and have even bigger things on the forefront of my future. It's overwhelming. It's like the only way I can explain it. And I'm infinitely grateful. And I think that was a big thing too, when I started to really show my gratification, and just appreciate even like the sucky moments and just, or if someone, crosses me, or if someone rejects me, just kind of blessing their heart and sending them on their way and just being like, hey, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Everyone's not my cup of tea, and that's okay. That's what makes the world interesting, because if everyone, was a yes girl or a yes guy, like, things would be so boring. It's good when people speak up and say their truth, even if it might not be popular opinion. I oftentimes have things to say that are not popular opinion. And I've just come to find that, being authentically me is why I've grown my business during a pandemic, is why people choose to work with me, even though I'm not the cheapest, products out there. I'm me, and I'm kind of unapologetically me. And it's taken a while to kind of own that and be proud of that. But I can honestly say that I am, and a big part of that is my adoption. But finding my family, like going back down on the wild goose chase and going to 2 different countries to locate them, that was a crazy trip. And I think from that point on, it really changed my perspective of the world, because I just kept thinking, oh my God, I could be down there. There's not nonprofits like there are here, like helping people out. There's not the resources and opportunities down there that there are here. So I get why people are coming into the US, because it's like a beacon of hope, right? When there otherwise isn't any. And, seeing where I could be, it's just crazy. So I feel as though I have a quite large chip on my shoulders to do more things than the average Joe, because I'm here. And, so easily I could have been down there. And I just keep, the hyperachiever in me just keeps going, and giving. And I've just accepted that that's who I am. And, I'm not changing, so having to, I'm totally rambling now, but really look at my relationships and make sure that the right people are by my side, because I could be a lot most of the time.
I'll give you the best description I can. You can steal it, because this is what they call me. You really fill up the room when you enter. That's what, like, my brother says about me and my mom. She's like, I love you, but like a lot of the oxygen is sucked out of the room when you roll up in there. And so, knowing when to use that power and when not to use that power has taken me to the next level, to listen a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think, even 2 years ago, I had an opportunity and I overlooked it because of ego. And I wanted to do everything myself, 100% on my own. I wanted to own 100% of what I call
it being the hero. Yeah.
Yeah. And, 2.5 years of having my business and just being a mom, and doing all the things that I'm doing, writing this book, it just dawned on me that, like, my whole premise is that it's not about me. Like, it took literally a village for me to do the things that I've done. And for me to get in that mentality where, like, me, 100% me, I could do this all on my own. That's not me. And that's not who I'm trying to be. So I really had to do some self-reflection and think, listen, if I want to get to the level I want to get to and give back the amount I want to give back while sustaining my legacy and being able to give the world to my boys, I can't do it on my own. And for me to think that I can solely do it on my own, like, that's not the type of person I want to be. I'm a very team-oriented player, and I had to switch my mindset. And now I've seen, such big business growth in the last few months, even. And this year has been really great. We're going to have a monster year. I'm so excited. And I attribute a lot of that to just, like my book says, learning as a lifelong journey. I never go into a room thinking I know everything. And I was talking to someone else the other day about this, how, there's some people that walk into a room and they know everything. And I never want to be that person, because I feel like when you think that you know everything, it stifles your growth and it stifles your ability and your appreciation of, like, that learning as a lifelong journey. I don't know. Do you think that makes sense?
It does. And I want to go back to So if I don't want to speak out of turn, but you were working for somebody and then you decided to start your own business, and kind of what, you're busy, you have a family, like what, I would imagine that you're making okay, like what spurred you to kind of like go off on your own?
Sure. So I actually started my LLC in 2017 after I got back from finding my family, changed my life. I came back and I said, I need to do more. So I first ran for a political position because I asked I was on the board of directors at the time volunteering. And I said to him, hey, I got back from my trip and I'm feeling very overwhelmed. Like I need to do more. What do you got for me? What do you think I should do? And the guy said, well, why don't you run for board of ed? And I was like, the wheels started spinning. And I was like, politics. I don't know if I want to get into that. And I ended up interviewing everyone on the existing board. And I just asked them why they're on the board, the time commitment, various questions to both Democrats and Republicans, because I wanted to truly know a general consensus of what it was like and what I had to do to A, get a position and get elected, and B, after the fact, what the time commitment was like, because I didn't want to, am I allowed to swear? Half-ass it.
Of course.
I don't want to half-ass it.
I think I hit 40 in one episode. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll do it again. And I didn't want to half-ass it, And for me, doing that due diligence process, I'm very strategic in the things I do and the things I take on. A light bulb went off and I said, yeah, I'm going to do this. There's no Hispanic candidates running. I'd be the youngest candidate to run. So I went for it. And it was a grind because I was up against a lot of people who just kept getting reelected. And I also was up against a lot of people who were older than me, more seasoned professionals, had children. Like I was running and I had no children. I didn't go to public high school. I wasn't from this town. So it was kind of like, why the heck is this girl running? Is it like, a beauty pageant? Like, why is she doing this? And I had people ask me, and I appreciated the questions. And I explained that, I'm adopted. I'm trying to get back to my community. It's my civic duty. I'm here. I'm able to vote. I have so many rights here. I want to pay it forward and do my part, as small as it may be. I ended up not being so small because it was a grind. I was going to so many doors, Republicans, Democrats, even people that weren't registered to vote. I got some people to register to vote. I got some people to, vote across party lines because they believed in what I had to say. And I educated them on voting because many people didn't know they could vote for me if they didn't have kids. They're like, oh, I could vote for board of ed. I don't have kids. I'm like, if you're paying taxes, it's 67% of our tax paying dollars in this town. So if you're paying taxes, you have a vested interest in the education in the future. The future of the community, because not everyone's going to go away to college. Some people are going to go into the trades, and the quality of education in the public school system is vital to a thriving ecosystem of an economy, whether it's blue collar or white collar, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And people are like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And I hope that I encourage people to think a little bit out of the box and understand that they don't want someone to come and do HVAC on their house, not knowing, how to write, how to read, how to properly, kind of socialize and communicate and, do a quality job. And that's something that I think can be taught in the education system if done properly. Like financial literacy, for example. I think you and I chatted a little bit about that, how important that is for young people to understand. So I felt as though bringing a fresh take to the board was my way of giving back things that I've learned. And then I also started my LLC like simultaneously. And originally it was to help adopted kids reunite with their birth families. I wanted to give that gift to other people. I ended up doing it for free for a couple people because it's more of a passion project. I didn't feel right charging people to do this. And I knew in my brain that if I wasn't going to charge people, I didn't have a business. If I wasn't going to accept money or ask for money, I was going to, stop before I started, essentially. And that's really what happened. I just couldn't do it. I did it more for fun, just to help people. I helped, I think, 2 or 3 people reunite with their families. And then I said, what am I good at? And marketing, business. promotional products. So that's what I kind of switched my business into. And I figured I could start a nonprofit and do great things, but there's so much restrictions and red tape, and there's so many amazing nonprofits, but a lot of them are doing similar things. So I just didn't want to be competing with someone that had a similar mission to me. And I'd much rather have a for-profit business, make a boatload of money, and be able to give back however I want to without restrictions. So that's pretty much what spurred the idea with Ochoa. And it kind of sat for a while because I was stuck to that carrot dangling in front of me, that bi-weekly paycheck that just kept me on the hamster wheel of the corporate grinds. And it wasn't until I got laid off while I was pregnant and the company relocated to Atlanta from Connecticut. And I was suddenly without a job. I was about to have a baby, and I was just flabbergasted that this was even happening to me. I experienced it happening to my dad when I was little, but when you're little, you don't interpret things the same way. And when I was, being an adult and experiencing that, it was a totally different thing. And knowing that I have this now like little person that is dependent on me. Mm-hmm. Said person has entered the room. All right, go ask Daddy for the crayons. I love them. So yeah, it was quite the shock. We found out on a Friday that we're all getting laid off, so that was interesting and definitely caused a lot of like emotional stress, not knowing what was happening next. Mm-hmm. It honestly was the biggest blessing in disguise. And I even wrote to the company CEO and said that. I said, thank you for laying us off, because I never would have had pretty much the courage to go off on my own. I think that if I hadn't gotten laid off and I had my son, I would have felt obligated to go back to my job because it was security, until it wasn't, right? But as long as I would have had that like whole facade of the security, I would have kept going, because
it's here's the scary thing about it. It's just enough to not make the move. Like it's not like you're killing it. You're not upset, but the pain, like it feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And until I got laid off too, until you get laid off and you're kind of like forced, your mind has to have a talk with itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy to me because I loved the last 3 years, like absolutely. I think I had maybe one truly stressful day. Like, don't get me wrong. I get stressed out, but I'm pretty good at managing it. And I don't want to say deflecting, but mitigating and not allowing it to progress into this crazy stress monster. Mm-hmm. But I'd say on Thursday, I had a little bit of a stressful experience just trying to, like, there's the wards for my mom. There's like a little like carrier issue with getting them there on time. And I had to like have them redone and overnighted from like Canada. So it was just, that was stressful, but it was more so stressful because it was personal to me, because I wanted to have a special day for my mom, But other than that, I could literally tell you that in the last like 2.5, 3 years, I have not been stressed out. I love what I do, love it with a passion. Mm-hmm. And I just, part of me feels silly that I didn't dive into it sooner, but I was scared. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I was like, not getting a biweekly paycheck, it's that's terrifying. But now I feel as though, all right, sky's the limit. What can I do with this? Mm-hmm. And I optimize, and having had kids, my time is now optimized. I literally work, don't tell anyone this, I know we're talking to other people, but like maybe 15 hours a week, like that's sort of my work day. I structure my time because Fridays are my son's days. I spend time with them. Just a non-negotiable for me. I just let my clients, and usually most people aren't working hard on Friday anyway. Mm-hmm. I do like little things on my phone, quick 10 orders off and do things like that. But I almost every Friday or every other Friday, I bring them to the zoo membership. We go, I spend quality time with them. It's just our special thing. And it's nice because people just know that's my thing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
what do you tell the person, right, that says, no, I need to be available for my clients 24/7. If I miss that one client, like, how do you set boundaries with your clients?
I think if they're the right clients for you, they'll have like some level of like flexibility, right? Because if they like you enough, they'll respect that you have a life and you have a family and that they're not your priority, right? Because I do that all the time. Sometimes I'll get in my head and I'll get frustrated with my vendors because something's like running behind or I needed a proof and they didn't get it for me. And I have to check myself a little bit because I'm like, they're dealing with like tens of thousands of order. Like this isn't about me, So I just kind of redirect the energy. I say, hey, listen, get it to me as soon as you can. My client needs this. And I've kind of trained, I don't want to say trained my clients, but I've worked with them in a way where they know that I'm transparent. They know that if there's an issue, I'm going to let them know. And rarely ever do I drop the ball, So I think there's just that mutual respect where I let you know what's going on and they just respect my time and I respect their time. And I've even had clients say to me, hey, I don't work after this hour. And we don't work on the weekends. And I say, sure. I appreciate you telling me that.
I call it, don't let somebody else inject their emergency to you.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a company that we're consulting with, and the ops director came to me and she's like, I'm just not really like, I'm not doing what I could. Like, I'm a new mom. Like, I'm not working my 90 hours. And I just like fell off the chair. I was like, I don't know where you worked prior, but we don't do that here. We're going to run a multi-million-dollar company and you're going to work probably 30 hours a week because we're going to optimize this baby. And she was like, oh God, what's that? And I was like, just watch me work. Like, yeah. And she was like, this is like new. I don't even know like what to do. And it's like, it's amazing to me, especially when you start a business. It's amazing to me how 90% of the time with my clients, I'm trying to break them of the employee mindset. And I ask them, be the CEO of your life.
Yeah.
If you could design the perfect life, how would you create this? And I would imagine, if I had to guess, it wouldn't be working 80 to 90 hours a week.
No. Yeah. And I understand that sometimes you might have to put in a few more hours, but I feel like it's kind of like a little bit of a bank, right? You take some out and you put some back in, and it's, you don't want to ever be empty, when you're putting things in and taking things out. And I don't think of it as a balance. I think of it as a rhythm. And I explained to my son, like this week, mommy has a busy week. So we might not be able to have as much quality time on Friday, but next Friday is all yours.
Well, see, this is where you win. I'm sorry to interrupt because this is so important. This is where you win. 90% of the times people are they're trying to find where they're going to fit it in the schedule, but then they're wasting all their bandwidth trying to think about where they're going to fit it in the schedule instead of having the conversation with your son and saying, mommy's going to have a busy week this week. I know we're not going to get as much as normal, but we will make time. You've properly communicated. So everybody in the family knows ahead of time instead of getting upset with them because they don't understand when you haven't even told them in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to raise a very emotionally intelligent child, and my son, he's 3, and he talks about clients, investing, and all sorts of things that I feel it just like blows my mind when he says things. Like the other day, he said something really powerful, and he said to my husband, "Daddy, don't let your dreams fall apart, or your heart will fall apart." And I said, "Oh, yes." He said, "Yes," because I read Ryan Holiday's Daily Stoic to him. And he's like a sponge, so he picks things up. But for him to say that, so then I was like, where did you hear that? Was that lyrics to a song? I was like, did I play something? Did I say something? And he goes, oh, I heard it at grandma's. So I immediately called up my mother-in-law. She's like, no one here said that. So he literally just made it up in his little brain. And I was just blown away because it's true. Your dreams are so paramount to finding or living happiness. And
it's when we, oh my God, I love your son. It's when we don't have the semblance of the dream that we die with inside. Like I tell people all the time, like, are you going to let your music die inside you? And the
Yeah.
thing is here's where we got it twisted. That thing that you love to do, it doesn't per se need to make you money. It could just be something that makes you happy, that in turn allows you to show up in the places that make you money happier.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel as though, you know, I love shopping. So my company's centered on promotional products, so branded gear, and I take a strategic community marketing approach. So I like my clients to work together. I like to pull funding to do bigger programs. I like to really focus on like the hyper local. And I've done work in corporate partnerships, so I pretty much take it to a community level with the similar concepts. And I love people, so I'm able to like take my business and combine all the things I love. So that's why I have such a passion for what I do. It's not necessarily because I love like slinging pens and, t-shirts and other things like that. It's because I love the community connection, and I love being able to help alleviate some stress from my clients so they can buy more time within their lives to do other areas of their job, which they might find more fulfilling. And we just got a client out of Orange County, California, and I'm like saving her time because she was just going on to For Imprint and all these websites, finding things and like piecing it together. And now she just comes to me and I literally just get her pricing, and it takes out all of the wasted time. I hate wasted time because, one of my mentors actually passed away at 42. She developed cancer in 2020 in September, and she was gone, by like the end of November. And she was 42. Wasn't sick before that. It happened like that. So in the back of my mind, I also think a lot. It sounds incredibly morbid about death, because if you flip a coin, there's evil and good, right? There's also, if you flip a coin, there's life and death, and that's just kind of, I think, a baseline for everybody. It's not like, if anyone knows of the Fountain of Youth, please send me the coordinates. But it's a scary thing to think of, but I also feel it's an empowering thing to think of, because when I put it into that perspective, when I get so stressed out or so overwhelmed by something so minute, something that's I won't remember a year from now, right? This, like the stress from Thursday, I stopped myself and I said, listen, I'm not driving to Canada right now. I'm not going to be able to talk to anyone in like the ground department to see if they could find it on whatever pallet it's on. It's pretty much in God's hands now. So I just said, you know what? This is going to work out one way or another. I'll find a solution. I found some backups locally, not the same award, but similar. And I had options. So I just kind of rested assured that something would happen. Worst case scenario, we do paper certificates, which isn't ideal. But again, talking about life and death here. This isn't life or death. It's an inconvenience to the moment. And honestly, years from now, no one's going to care. Even months, even like a month or two from now, no one's going to care. And if someone does care because they got messed up, then I feel bad for them, because they're wasting moments of their life caring about something that's not going to matter years and years from now, if they're so lucky to get those years, if they're so lucky to get those days. So I do often think about death. I do think, my biological grandma, I found out, died at 38 from ovarian cancer. And when it's on your grandma's side, as a woman, is a higher percentage of like, say, me having it. So I think about that often. I think I'm 33 years old. Like, shoot, if I had 5 years left to live, am I doing the things that literally like lift me up and make me feel whole? And if not, I try and kind of recalibrate, I call it, and just reconfigure what I'm doing or what I'm thinking or how I'm acting to better align with this overlying purpose of trying to help people create this legacy for my kids. Because I feel as though if I have 5 years left, I got to get to work, because my goal for myself now that I have children is 100% that they're okay when I'm gone, whether that's tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now, hopefully far long, decades and decades from now. But if it's my time and I don't get that, I will die happy knowing that they're okay, that they have the the financial stability and security to follow their dreams, whatever that may be. And that I did my part in providing for the future. And it's kind of heavy, right? But I think about that daily, and it's it keeps me grounded, and it also just it's kind of like a sobering sense of awareness that I'm not invincible, that I'm not perfect, that nothing is perfect, and that ultimately one day I will not be here, and that's okay. But I'll be damned if I ruin the time that I have. And of course, like, I'm human, so I'll get in like these funks where like I'm sad, or I'm feeling like defeated, or I want to give up, or I'm frustrated. We all got those days or those weeks or whatever happens, those ebbs and flows. But I just have found ways to get out of that quicker. And I can honestly say that like I'm like a happy person, despite developing this autoimmune disease in the last few years, and just going through, the layoff, a move, all these crazy life changes literally nearly broke me. And I feel as though it made me stronger, and it made me whole. Like, there are things that needed to happen to kind of check myself and just get to the next stage and be able to relate to more people. Because I love connecting and having more and more experiences and putting myself out there, rejection, opportunities, all these things are like just a culmination of, life moments that I can then coach someone else and talk with them and be like, hey, listen, I went through that same thing, or I experienced something similar, or, hey, I met this person along my journey. They can help you. They know exactly what you've been through. So I consider myself a master connector, because I'm constantly, just like Rachel connected us, saying, hey, I think this person would be a great connection for you. And identifying those similar personalities, or just similar life paths, or even just like life milestones, and putting people together. Because I think really deep down, people just want to feel connected. Because if you don't, life's so lonely. We're born alone, we die alone. And if you don't have that sense of people, or have that sense of like connection, then you're kind of like going on a track alone. And for me as an extrovert, that's like torture. I know my fellow, or my friends out there that are introverts might disagree with me, but I think genuinely a lot of us, most of us, just want to feel a part of something bigger, whatever that looks like for them.
Couldn't agree more. So, and then before we get out of here, you wrote a book that's coming out. Tell us about that and kind of where they can find it and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. This is just the cover, but
learning is a lifelong journey. Well, isn't that the truth?
It sure is. So I have always wanted to write a book since I was 9 years old. I have writings of myself writing that I want to write a book someday at 9 years old. And I was always too scared to do it. And then as I got older, it just fell to the wayside of my priority list. And I just said, everyone's writing a book. I don't want to write a book. And then I had my son. I was like, I really can't write a book. I have a kid now. Like, he's like, I need to be doing money generating things like for my family. And so to take time to write a book, like, that's frivolous. That's like a waste of time. I made all these excuses. And I think purely because I was scared to put my thoughts and words out there for people to read. Then, flash forward to my second son. I was healing from another C-section. I was on the couch. I was sick of binging some TV and feeling like a bump on a log. So I started working again 3 weeks after I had my son, just, little things on my own terms. And it hit me one night when I was up nursing my son at about, say, 1 a.m. I was pretty delirious at this time. And I go, I'm going to write a book. I didn't know if it was delirious Amanda talking, or if I was dreaming, because that was a possibility too, that I was asleep and dreaming, or if I really was going to like do it. So I was awake and I committed to it. And then literally a couple days later, a friend introduced me to a publishing coach that she knew, because we were chatting and I was like, I'm going to write a book, universe. I'm going to do it. And couple days later, I got connected. I literally signed on with him because I do very well with an accountability partner. For me, having mentors, coaches, it's how I'm so successful. I thrive off of that. And I said, yeah, where do I send the money? Let's do this. And I told him I had a deadline for myself. So I was giving him 2 chapters a week. And it was just to keep me honest, keeping me honest to my goal, which I think is what a good coach does. They don't let you give up on yourself, and they cheerlead you on, and they, do their part by checking in. And I got it done in 4 months. Editing was a little bit more of a bear because my sons kept getting sick every 3 weeks, and I kept getting sick because I was watching them. And, the editing was a lot, but I got it done in less than a year. It's coming out in a few weeks. I've already pre-sold over 150 copies, which I'm proud of. And I haven't even posted it out yet. It's more so like friends and family. But I know my clients want to buy some too. So it's crazy. It's 100 more pages than I anticipated. I was going for 200 pages, but it's 345. And I interviewed some awesome folks for it. The former chief development officer of Subway. He overcame a cocaine and alcohol addiction, and he allowed me to share his story. And I asked him a couple of questions. Right now, he's helping give back to people that suffered from or currently suffering from addiction. So in his retired life, he chooses to give back and kind of, send the elevator down and help lift people up that have gone through similar struggles to him, which I admire. And a couple other awesome folks. And I would say it's a compilation of stories from my life lessons that I've learned, and those, some stories from other people's lives that have affected the trajectory of my life. So it's not just about me, right? I don't like to make everything about me. So this is one example where I really incorporate a slew of other people that are super awesome and tell a little bit of their stories and how it's kind of all crashed together to just bring more and more awesomeness to the world. It's definitely a proud moment for me. It was a major thing I've been wanting to check off my bucket list. So to be so close to the finish line, I'm probably going to bawl my eyes out when I get the books. It's going to be the coolest one. I'm going to have someone record it just so I can remember, physically see myself and just remember it.
How would they go about purchasing the book?
You can go to www.amandamottola.com, and Amanda spelled normal, Mottola.com.
I love it.
And part of the profits, of the profits in May are going to, it's Foster Awareness Month, and I was in foster care for 11 months, and I'm a big advocate and supporter of foster care policies and just giving back to help foster parents, because it's an amazing thing. Every year, 20,000 foster kids age out of the system, and within 4 to 5 years, 50% end up homeless. So it's big. There's a lot of problems with it that I think are not being addressed. So part of the money from this month's sales are going to Foster Forward in Rhode Island that have a program for helping those that end up homeless get emergency housing.
Love it. Guys, make sure you go out and check out that book. If you got some value from this episode, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.